Hello everyone! Crossover paintwork is not at all durable. Chips and scratches on the body appear after a couple of Russian winters, and rust can appear quite quickly in the places of chips. Therefore, as soon as a spider appears on the body, it is better not to delay the repair. Otherwise, corrosion will not take long. From the icing regions, chrome-plated parts also get. The coating swells and flies around in the second year of life. The windshield cannot boast of durability either. It is quickly rubbed with brushes, and the chips that appear on it soon turn into cracks. In addition, the regular visor is expensive, so instead of the native one, we recommend a non-original one. It is much cheaper, but it lasts noticeably longer. Often there are complaints about the appearance of condensate in the headlights and taillights. Heated rear-view mirrors and fog lamp glasses often burst. Engine also suffer from road chemistry. Over time, the radiator begins to leak. Dealer cars are protected with a special coating that prevents corrosion. In our conditions, radiators rarely last longer than 4 to 5 years. The motors themselves are reliable. Although the base 1.6 liter is reputed to be capricious about the quality of fuel, and, at the dawn of its youth, periodically refused to start the first time. It happened that he worked with detonation, although the fuel was of quite acceptable quality. The Japanese upgraded the engine software in 2013 and the problem no longer arose. As well as with the 1.8 liter 4, on which since 2014 they began to install a new generator with an improved drive belt. Until that time the engine worked with annoying extraneous sounds. But the good old 2-liter engine is quite simple in design and devoid of congenital source. In addition, it was originally designed for the 90-second gasoline, and the gas distribution mechanism has a durable chain designed for the entire life of the engine. By the way, in the timing of the 1.6 liter 4, a toothed belt, the replacement of which, according to the regulations, every 90,000 kilometers. Both motors, with proper operation, get to repairmen mainly due to the natural wear of the cylinder piston group. Let the rings of the motors be thin, but they are not subject to occurrence. The mechanical box is also not satisfactory, and it considered almost eternal. Unless closer to 200,000 kilometers, the linkage of the gear lever can loosen. The treatment is simple and inexpensive. A repair kit is installed and the MCP account pleases with the clarity and reliability of work. But the variator is different whims. On the first machines, he often overheated, especially when it was hot outside. In this situation, you need to stop and wait 10 to 15 minutes until the oil cools down. According to the regulations, the liquid lubricant in the variator changes after 90,000 kilometers, but in Russian conditions it is recommended much more often, every 60,000. It is generally accepted that without breakdowns, its resource is about 100,000 kilometers, and then the torment begins. If you feel that acceleration is accompanied by extraneous metallic knocks and the car twitches, urgently go to the service to replace the pushing belts. If you do not change the belt in time, you will also have to fork out for cones, and they cost like 2 belts each. The variator does not favor off-road and slipping, and overheats in traffic jams. On restyled cars since 2016, the Japanese began to install an additional cooling radiator on the variator, which made it possible to increase its resource to 200,000 kilometers. In an all-wheel drive transmission, check the center clutch. It does not like to drive with slippage, and it quickly overheats off-road. Therefore, when buying a used Outlander, be sure to check the condition of the 4x4 transmission. Otherwise, the burden of costs for replacing the clutch, camshaft with an outboard bearing, or replacing gearboxes will fall entirely on your shoulders. But the suspension will not ruin. Although by 40,000 kilometers, the stabilizer struts and bushings, levers, as well as the ball bearings and silent blocks wear out, Front shock absorbers, as a rule, withstands 80,000 kilometers and even more, and the rear ones usually change a little earlier. The remaining elements of the chassis can easily nurse up to hundreds of thousands of kilometers. True, this is only if the first owner was a careful driver. Schumachers will call in the service much more often. Road chemistry also negatively affects electrical equipment, which already does not shine with reliability. The Japanese conducted a dozen revocable campaigns related only to electrics. Most of all, there were complaints about the ETACS units, failures of which led to inadequate operation of the cooling fans and low-beam headlights. Often the engine control module was buggy due to a poor-quality relay regulator. But when the so-called comfort block failed, the windows spontaneously opened and closed, the central lock turned on and off, mirrors folded. The malfunctions were of a floating nature. The performance ended, as a rule, as unexpectedly as it began. And further, if suddenly your ASX gets into emergency mode, the automatic transmission selector does not allow you to shift gears, and the 4WD transmission malfunction lights up on the screen. Do not rush to panic. Most likely, the reversing light fuse has blown. Without it, the crossover simply will not go. So, Mitsubishi ASX is generally reliable if you do not take into account small problems in the electrician. When choosing a used crossover, avoid modification with a CVT or carefully check this unit for wear. Unfortunately, diesel versions were not officially sold with us. But the diesel engine is not only reputed to be indestructible, but it is also combined only with a priori reliable manual transmission. If you ever had such a model, share information about what and how it breaks in the comments.